There are men who fear loneliness, and then there are men who fear stillness. Men who are not afraid of being alone, but terrified of being unseen, unfelt, and emotionally unvalidated. These men rarely stay in one place for long. Not in homes, not in commitments, and certainly not in love. They move the way a bee moves quickly, passionately, and endlessly from one flower to another, chasing sweetness without ever planting roots. This is the psychological pattern many observers believe defines Common to the public. Common has always appeared calm, thoughtful, and emotionally evolved. A man of poetry and intellect. A man who speaks softly about God, growth, and healing. But beneath that polished exterior exists a far more complicated emotional history, one marked not by cruelty, but by inconsistency. Not by hatred, but by emotional hunger. Common himself once admitted something deeply revealing. He was addicted to love, not to people, not to partnership, but to the feeling of being in love. Psychologists refer to this as love. Addiction, a condition where the emotional high of new romance becomes a coping mechanism. The excitement, the intensity, the validation, the honeymoon phase, that intoxicating rush becomes a substitute for inner fulfillment. And once that rush fades, discomfort sets in. That discomfort is where relationships either deepen or die. For someone addicted to love, depth feels like suffocation. Routine feels like loss. Stability feels like emotional starvation. And so instead of working through the natural evolution of love, they subconsciously look for a reset, a new face, a new energy, a new emotional mirror. This is the lens through which many now analyze Common's romantic history. Because when you look closely, a pattern begins to emerge. Strong women, successful women, emotionally intelligent women. And yet, each relationship ends the same way: intense beginnings, public admiration, emotional promises, followed by quiet withdrawal. Jennifer Hudson entered this story not as a naive woman, but as someone already wounded. Before Common, Jennifer had endured a long, painful relationship with David Otunganin, years of engagement without marriage, followed by a bitter breakup filled with emotional strain. That experience changed her. It made her cautious, protective, reserved. So when Jennifer and Common were first linked, something stood out immediately. She denied it, while the media pushed. For confirmation, Jennifer downplayed the rumors. She appeared irritated by the questions. She refused to label it as love. She kept emotional distance, even as speculation grew louder. And that raises an important question. Why would a woman who is supposedly happy hide happiness? Insiders later revealed that Jennifer and Common had known each other for years, and that feelings developed during filming in Philadelphia. This was not a spontaneous romance. It was familiar, comfortable, and yet she hesitated to claim it publicly. That hesitation may have been instinct, because deep down, Jennifer may have already recognized something familiar. Not danger, but instability. Common, on the other hand, moved differently. Where Jennifer slowed down, he accelerated. Where she hesitated, he intensified. He flew to London just to surprise her at a musical premiere. He made grand gestures, spoke publicly about how happy he was. He framed the relationship as spiritually aligned, emotionally fulfilling, and deeply meaningful. To the outside world, it looked like devotion. But to those familiar with love addiction, it looked like love bombing. Love bombing is not always malicious. Sometimes it is unconscious. It happens when a person overwhelms their partner with affection, attention, and intensity early on, creating emotional dependence before trust has been fully established. Jennifer, understandably, felt conflicted. On one hand, she was being adored. On the other, she felt emotionally rushed, and that emotional imbalance is where doubt begins to grow. Because real love respects pace. Real love allows space. Real love does not require constant proving. The irony is that Common believed he had changed. He had gone to therapy. He spoke openly about healing. He had even been mentored by Michelle Obama, who once guided him on commitment, compromise, and emotional maturity. And yet, mentorship does not equal transformation. Change is not measured by words, it is measured by patterns. And the pattern was already familiar. Jennifer was not the first woman to experience this emotional whirlwind. And she would not be the last. By the end of this chapter, one question becomes unavoidable. Was Common truly offering love? Or was he offering the version of love that made him feel whole? And more importantly, how can someone tell the difference? Before Jennifer Hudson ever became part of Common's romantic storyline, she had already lived through a version of love that permanently reshaped how she trusted men, promises, and the idea of marriage itself. To understand why Jennifer behaved the way she did, why she hesitated, why she resisted labels, why she ultimately refused a proposal, I have to understand the emotional scars she carried long before Common entered the picture. Jennifer Hudson is not a woman who lacks the ability to love. If anything, her problem has never been loving too little. It has been loving too deeply. Her relationship with David Otunga lasted nearly a decade. 9 years of engagement without a wedding. 9 years of emotional investment without final commitment. For many women, such a long engagement creates a dangerous illusion. The belief that time itself is proof of intention. Jennifer believed she was building toward permanence. Instead, she found herself trapped in uncertainty, conflict, and emotional exhaustion. When that relationship finally collapsed, did not just end a chapter, it rewired her instincts. After the breakup, Jennifer publicly stated something that shocked many people. "I don't want to get married again. Marriage isn't for me." That was not the voice of a woman who hated love. It was the voice of a woman who had been burned by hope. So when Common appeared in her life, Jennifer did not meet him with blind optimism. She met him with caution, disguised as calm. From the very beginning, she avoided defining the relationship. While Common openly described his happiness, Jennifer consistently minimized expectations. She avoided dramatic declarations. She resisted public labels. And when the media pushed harder, she pushed back to outsiders. This hesitation seemed confusing. Why would a woman involved with a man who appeared emotionally evolved, spiritually grounded, and publicly devoted act so reserved? The answer lies in trauma-informed intuition. When someone has been deeply hurt before, their body often recognizes danger before their mind does. This is not paranoia, it is pattern recognition. Jennifer had already lived through a relationship where promises were extended endlessly without fulfillment. She knew what it felt like to wait for change that never came. So when Common intensified the relationship, quickly grand gestures, public praise, emotional language, her intuition likely whispered something uncomfortable. This feels familiar. Odd. Familiar because it was safe. But familiar because it was fast. Jennifer's reluctance to fully open herself emotionally was not resistance to love. It was resistance to illusion. Meanwhile, Common's approach followed a script he had unconsciously perfected over years. He did not slowly integrate into Jennifer's life. He immersed himself, flew across continents, declared emotional alignment, presented himself as a transformed man who had learned from past mistakes to someone who wants to believe in redemption. That narrative is powerful. But Jennifer was not just listening to words. She was watching behavior. She noticed the urgency. She noticed the intensity. She noticed the emotional pressure to move forward quickly. And that pressure is where romance quietly becomes coercion. Not overt force, but emotional acceleration. There is a subtle difference between enthusiasm and insistence, between affection and urgency, between love that flows naturally and love that demands momentum.